Hi everyone, how are you? It's Venus. As you know, if you've never seen this channel, then hi, I'm Venus. How you doing? So today I wanted to talk about something I love. As I always say, I want to talk about something I love because why are we here? Because talk about stuff we like and we love. And I love fashion. And I wanted to talk about all the aspects of fashion, my activewear brand 11, what I love about fashion, what I don't like, and also why you do not need a fashion degree like I went to get to be in the fashion industry. So there's so much stuff I want to share with you. I feel like this might be a series, so if you guys like this video, we'll make it a series and we'll go from there. I was inspired to start 11, my activewear brand. You guys, please check it out. I was inspired to start because at the time, and this is like activewear is blown up now, but at the time, like 10 years ago, it wasn't blown up. And back in the day, like you just used a neon color or just put like a stripe on the side and it was sporty. And I didn't like that. And I just thought there was so much more to say in activewear and that it could really be fashion. And here we are 10 years later, and it really is. It's just taken over. So I'm also, of course, hoping that activewear continues to have this heyday. What differentiates my clothing from other lines is, in my opinion, like there's room for everybody. There's room for everybody as long as you have something to say. If you don't have anything to say, then there's no room for you. So for me, I love actually to learn from other brands and other, even if it's ready to wear, to see what everyone's doing is very inspiring for me, and it makes me grow and to be bigger and to be better. And I love that. I love being pushed. So in the sense that it's like, okay, what's a differentiator? Not so much in that fact, it's more about your own voice. And so when I think about design or think about what 11 is about, it's about my voice and how that resonates with other people. So it's kind of like this give thing. What can I give? What can I give? What can I give? Give for myself. What can I give for other people? All of those different things. So that's kind of how I see it. Okay, so my future plans for 11 are huge, and I can't tell you all of them because some of them are top secret. But what I will say is that I'm very passionate about wellness, whether that's mental health, physical health, emotional health. Being well is the most important thing in life. So when you do not feel well, I've not felt well, it's very difficult to live your dreams, and it's also difficult to give because you can barely take care of yourself. So my dream for 11 is to help people be well in every single way. And so that extends in so many different directions. So I'm excited about pursuing that. And being an 11 is about being better than a 10, so it's a life of pursuing your best self. It's a pursuit of your best self. It's a life with no regrets. And that's the life we all should pursue. Where's the men's clothing? This is a question we get a lot at 11. And I know, we're working on it. I promise you, there will be some men's clothing. Right now, we are a women's activewear brand, but we're definitely working on ways to not only do men's, but also unisex, so that everybody is included, no matter who or what you might identify as. You can wear these clothes and feel amazing. What I love about fashion is that you have this ability to express yourself. Everybody has to get up and put clothes on. If you do not put clothes on, you will be arrested. It is against the law. So guess what? You got to wear something, right? And because you have to wear something, why not wear something that makes you feel good, that makes you feel confident? I think we've all had those moments where you put on something and you hate how it feels, and that's all you can think about, and you feel, not great. Or like you go on a date, you want to wear your best outfit that you feel good in, right? And when you don't, you can't feel your best. So if you wear something that you love, then you can actually just go ahead and focus on everything else that you need to achieve. And that's important to me, to give people an opportunity to wear something that they love and that they feel good in. And I think it's the ultimate compliment when you love something and you have to buy two, because you're like, I need two of these because I'm gonna wear this forever. So I hope that we're creating things that make people think, I've got to buy two. The message of fashion, honestly, it really starts to tell the story of our world and our life, right? It tells the story of the era that we're in. I think right now, going back to 90s and 2000s fashion is really popular. But when you look back, when you think of Egyptians, what do you think of? Obviously their style and what they wore. Think of Romans, you start to immediately get this picture of togas. So it tells a story of humanity and of life. And also fashion also tells you where we are in this world, you know, in this moment, like when women are able to wear whatever we want right now, and we wear short things or long things, but there was also a time where we could only wear like super long things and things that were covered up. So it kind of tells you like where we are socially in our world, not only for women, but for men too. So it just tells a story of life. It tells us who we are, where we are, and I love that. What I'm looking forward to, I think, in fashion is just, for me personally, is improving. How can I make things most 11? How can I get closer to my own voice? How do I create a style and a look that is uniquely our own? And I think that's what I'm focusing on right now. And I just love being inspired by other collections and designers, and that's my favorite part. And then figuring out how do you make it yourself? You don't want to just like be this copy, right? So my experience in fashion school, so the reason I even went to fashion school was because I got this letter in the mail and it said, come to design school. And I was like, okay. And I told my mom, and she says, that school's too far. So I found a school that was like driving distance, so I ended up going to the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale. It was like an hour drive from my house. And my major was fashion design. And it was tough because I could only go once a year, so I could go 1 quarter every year. And so it took me 8 years to get out of school because the rest of the year I was playing professional tennis. So I think I entered school at 19 and I got out of school at 27. It took a while, but I didn't give up. And that was definitely some resilience. But, you know, that's why I went to school, and it was definitely a journey. I will say I love sewing. I loved sewing as a kid too. Now I don't have a lot of time to sew because sewing is a whole process. First you take the pattern, then you cut it out, then you pin it up. It's like this, I don't have a ton of time. And right now my house is so small that I don't even have like a space for like sewing or anything. So I would love, I think one of my dreams when I'm done playing tennis is to like spend time just sewing and like making patterns and all of those things. So that was kind of like my start. My experience in fashion school was intense. It was definitely intense. And I was also too technical in my mindset because I'm a tennis player. Tennis is an extremely technical sport. You gotta have your technique down or else it's gonna fall apart. You're not gonna be a champion. So like the difference between like your racket face being like this and like this is huge. So I went to school and I was like with this tennis mentality of like technique. And I didn't realize that as you're like making patterns and things, it was up to interpretation of what you wanted. So I was like so rigid. So if I could go to school again, I would just be freer and just let things happen instead of just being so freaking rigid. I didn't even know I was that rigid until like my late 30s when I realized I could let go, you know? So always learning something about yourself, but it was tough because I still had to train and practice. So sometimes, and I would like stack my classes. So like 3 classes in one day, and sometimes those classes were like, the classes were 4 hours, so you only went once a week and it was 4 hours. So I'd like have a class in the morning from like 8 to 12, another one from 1 to 5, and another one from 6 to 10, and then get home and sometimes still train because I had a tournament coming up. So it was very intense, and I would take like 6 classes a quarter because I could only go once a year, and it was nuts. It was completely insane. But I had the energy and the stamina to do it, and I loved design, and I really loved, more than anything, what I really loved was making prints. I liked that. What I hated most of all is this thing called marker making. And it's like where you take all the pattern pieces digitally and you like lay them out on the fabric and you try to use the most fabric that you can. So you lay them out in this arrangement so you're using at least like 90% of the fabric. And I hated marker making and all that stuff. So you try to get to 90%, but I only got to like 85 or whatever, and I had to just accept that grade because I also had to go to practice, so I didn't have time to like continue to manipulate these little pattern pieces. So anyway, that part was probably my least favorite part. But it was a very interesting experience, and I'm glad that I got to go to school too. Okay, this is a big topic, and I don't think we can just cover it in one video, but this is what they don't teach you at fashion school. So I went to fashion school. It was great. You know, you take illustration, you take pattern making, you learn to sew, you take different classes like how to make swimsuits or sportswear or children's and all these topics, but you get out and you have no idea how a fashion business really works. So it's so important what they don't teach you in the fashion, especially if you want to start your own business. There's the operations of it. Just making sure the ship runs, like a ship, especially the old school ships, you had to put up the sails and you had to like make sure you were like driving the ship with the wheel. That was a wheel, right? The wheel and all the different things that you were doing on the ship. I don't know about ships, but you get what I'm saying. So the operations of the business is just so important. Like, how do you do shipping? Do you use a third party? Do you have your own warehouse? What are the systems that you need to make sure that delivery happens? How do you make a website? How do you run your website? What are you looking for in your website in terms of what's working and what's not working? From there, actually making your clothes. Where do you produce? How do you get people to make your patterns? What does it cost to import and export things? In fact, it's very complicated. And so we just talked about operations. We just talked about production. We talked about e-commerce and then sales too. So if you're doing wholesales, how do you make the relationships with the retailers? How do you hire a sales team? Let me tell you, it's a lot. So those are the things that they do not teach you in school. And those are the things you really, really, really need to know if you're going to go out and start your own brand. And the only way to learn that is to learn it from someone else or just go to the school of hard knocks and learn. But by the time you've made so many mistakes, those can be very expensive and also put you out of business. So in fashion school, that's what they should teach you, and that's what's lacking, I think, in most schools. The reason you don't need a fashion degree to start a business is because unless you're going to be making the patterns, unless you're going to be doing the sewing, unless you're going to be doing all of that stuff, you don't need it. What you need is a vision of what you'd like to create and an understanding and having a dream. That's all you need. From there, there's no need to waste time or money on a degree that you may not be able to use in real life. But if you're going to be a pattern maker, if you're going to sew, if you're going to be a marker maker, there are definitely very real areas that you can study in for technical knowledge to become that. But if you're going to be the owner of a business and an entrepreneur, then there's a whole other kind of training that you need. So when you're able to differentiate between the two, then you can decide whether fashion school is for you. So I'm not going to say it's not for everyone. And for me, it was definitely a great experience. But you do not need to go to fashion school to have your own line. So one word of advice that I would say for someone who wants to start a business, if you want to start your own fashion business, I would say get out there and intern. You don't even have to leave your own industry before you start. You can keep your job, but spend some time, spend some hours interning, learning about the operations, learning about production, learning about sales, learning about e-commerce, learning about distribution, learning about all those different things that you have to learn to start your own business. And you don't even have to take all these risks to do that. Spend your free time volunteering at organizations. I don't think there's people who are going to say no, but you're going to find someone that will say yes. And there's also all sorts of people who want to share their knowledge. So find mentors that can teach you as well, and that will help you to not only understand the business, but be able to get there faster and succeed faster, and not to make mistakes that are costly and could possibly derail you from where you want to go. So you guys, please tell me if you also like this video. I definitely want to talk more about the fashion business and entrepreneurial things in general. And I think we can really hone in on how to create your own fashion business. So you guys tell me if you'd like to see that. I think that's really important because that information is actually not that available. You can't just Google on the internet, how to make a fashion business. I remember when I wanted to start my own business, I bought all these books and none of them really said anything. So the information is so much power, and I want to give you that. So let me know what you'd like to know. As always, you know what I'll do. I'll see you next week. Love you. See you soon.